Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amanda and today I've come on to talk to you about how to manage everybody else's opinions and when people want to talk into your life. Basically, a few weeks ago, it might have been a month or so ago, I did a talk with a university group. It was a Christian society and it was all about time management, and basically they wanted me to talk to a lot of the students that were on the part of the society about some tips that I had about time management, but I also took a lot of their questions to try and help them get through the university process. A lot of them were graduating soon and kind of dealing with, juggling the whole adulting, work-life balance and everything that it was to come. Now, one of the questions I was asked was that one of the students was struggling with dealing with a lot of other people's opinions about what decisions they should be making and how they should be managing their time. And they asked me, they said, Amanda, what do you do when so many people, have all the expectations from you and so many people want to give you advice about what you should or shouldn't be doing? How do you manage all of those things? And it came to me, it was a premise, the answer that I gave was a premise that I'd had for a little while. It's something that I'd understood, internalized myself, but I'd never really expressed it. And as I was talking, I was like, you know what, I feel like I can share this with some other people as well. And that's why I'm doing this video today. And actually at the end of it, a lot of the students talked about what points they're taking away. And a few of them said that this point was something that they really are going to try to implement. I'm in my final year of being in my 20s. I'm 29, next year I turn 30, and we're told a lot. I've heard from lots of people who's come before me that when you get into your 30s, you just stop caring so much about everyone's opinions. You kind of get that confidence that you might not have had when you're in your 20s, that you just don't care so much about what everyone thinks of you and what everyone's got to say. And I can definitely feel that transition happening from when I was in my early 20s, my mid 20s to now, almost entering my 30s. And so the premise that I said, that I told this group of students that I want to share with you today, is to think about who gets a vote. Now, you'll find, it happens with me and it's probably happening with a lot of you, that there's so many different decisions that we have to make in life. And you'll find that there's people that care about you, or people that are nosy or interested or just like sharing their opinion, that will tell you what they think that you should do. Sometimes it's because we ask for advice, but a lot of the time it's unsolicited. So it might be to do with your finances. Somebody tells you that, you really should be buying a house right now. Or they say that, oh, don't ever get a car like this. Or maybe you shouldn't be travelling, or you should be going on holiday more. Or maybe you're picking what university you should be going to and everyone's got something to say about it, or something to say about the university course that you want to do. Maybe it's something to do with your children, how you're raising them, whether you should be smacking your kids or not smacking your kids, what you're doing with your bedtime for your children, how you're feeding them. The list goes on. And it made me think about your relationship too. Should you be with this person or shouldn't you be with this person? When should you get married? How much should you spend on getting married? And often when lots of people are inputting their views into your life, it can feel like this overwhelming fog. What do I do with all of these opinions? Where do I move forward from here? What do I take and what don't I take? And I think because it's a very common situation that we find ourselves in, we can often predict that it's going to happen. And so I think it's a lot of the time, these overwhelming situations, if they're ones that we can predict are going to happen, I think it's best that we kind of start thinking that this is a possibility and do some preparation beforehand so that we know how to deal with it when the situation comes. And this thing about who gets a vote. So whenever there's a big decision in your life coming up, or that there's something that might be a bit controversial, there's something that someone might have an opinion on, before you start sharing that with people, think to yourself, who actually gets a vote in the decision that's being made here? Now, if it's about your finances, you may say, actually, I'm the only one that gets a vote in this. Or if you're married, you've got a partnership and you're sharing finances, maybe the people that get a vote are you and your partner. If it comes to raising your children, who gets a vote in the way in which you parent? You and the other parent, if they're in the relationship, if they're on the scene. Who gets a vote with what job you choose to do? Maybe it's just your vote, or maybe you've got to take into consideration what the children would want, because it might involve a big move. And so you say, you know what, they actually get a bit of a vote here. Or maybe it's about childcare and you say, oh, I want my parents to help look after my children. Well, of course, then your parents get a vote in that situation when you're asking them to do something. And so when we sit down, we actually think, who gets a vote in my life? Who gets a vote with this decision? It really helps with taking on people's opinions. Now, there's nothing wrong with listening to people, and often, and it was in the group as well, a question was, how do you respond to people when you don't agree with what they're saying or you're not going to implement the advice that they give you? And I think a lot of the time we don't have to dignify people with a response. We can listen to advice, we can take it on and say, thank you for that, I hear what you're saying, and I definitely consider all of that. You don't have to share all the inner workings of your brain. And just remember, just because they've given an opinion, just because they've given some advice, if they're not on the voting committee, if they're not part of this decision, then that's all they've given is some advice. You don't owe them anything. And when you make that decision before you have these conversations, you're having a baby, you're thinking about starting a family, you're thinking about starting a marriage, when you put down in your mind who actually gets a vote in this situation, all the noise coming from other people, you can often deal with it a lot better, because you know that, okay, just because my grandma said this and my aunt said this and one of my friends told me that and my colleague said this, actually the people that get a vote is myself and my husband. And so it's great they've all said that, but when it comes to making a decision, the only people I'm going to share it with is my husband, and we're the only ones that get a vote in this situation. People can't be offended if you don't take their well, people can be, but people don't really have the right to be offended if you decide to do something that's best for you, and don't take their advice. So I really hope that this kind of little premise helps. I know it's just been quite a short video, but the people on the conversation when I was talking to students said that really helped to think about who gets a vote in my life, who gets a vote with this right now. And then taking that information to help manage other people's expectations. Like I said, as you get older, you start to realise what is important. Often people's opinions of you does start to go down the list. Maybe it's important for you what people think in terms of what your children think of you. Are you a good mom to them? Are you kind? What does your partner think of you? What does God think of you? Those might be the people that you really care about. Your parents, possibly, those kind of things you care about. But what this person at work thinks, or this person that you grew up with, or just any other people in your community that don't really have a vote in your life, it doesn't matter so much. So take the time, think about it, and I really hope this helps. Leave down in the comments if this is something that you ever struggle with. Do you find that a lot of people are talking into your life, or is it just me? But thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.